Okay, good morning. I'm Commissioner Ed Rothstein from District 5. It is Thursday, December 8th. Wow. Time just seems to fly by. As always, why don't we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. And this is an exciting day. It is the first open session of the 62nd Board of County Commissioners, Carroll County Board of County Commissioners. And I am very excited, anxious at times, looking forward to opportunities to serving and learning from this Board of County Commissioners. What we'll do is keep things as they have been in a routine, and then things may change after time, but that's okay. Change is not a bad thing. What we do is, as you know, Priority Carroll. I think when I first started, it was called Positive Carroll, and that had a different spin, so we changed it to Priority Carroll. What is on our minds individually, that is a priority to Carroll County and to us. And an example is, just to kick it off, yesterday I had the opportunity to attend and participate in the Westminster Senior Center holiday luncheon. The room was packed, and there were folks wearing everything from elf suits to reindeer ears and everything else, and going from table to table, it was just very enjoyable. The senior centers are awesome, and I think I'm going to one on Friday as well down in South Carroll. Celine Steckler, her whole team running the centers, just do a great job. It was very festive. Hopefully everybody took a moment yesterday to recognize the importance of the Day of Infamy that occurred years ago in Pearl Harbor, that entered us into the war to end all wars. And it's a challenge because as time moves on, people seem to forget, and unless we forget things of that nature, because it was just a horrific day, and we should always take the opportunity to ensure we recognize it along with others. I don't want to get on a pulpit about it, but it's important for me. So that's kind of my priority, Carol, for this week. It'll be interesting getting to learn the persona of my colleagues and what they bring forward. So let's start with. Now we're not starting with District 1 because he'll have some poetic prose and all that kind of weird stuff, and nobody will want to follow him. So let's start with District 4 and Mike Guerin, Commissioner.
Sure. I thought I would just mention that Santa Claus is coming to town on the Winfield Volunteer Fire Department, starting this Monday through Sunday the 18th, will be escorting Santa Claus throughout that region of the county. And if you want to check on routes and where they're going to be, you can go to their website. They've got everything laid out to a T, and you might even see me out there. And just wanted to plug my town, Mount Airy. A lot of things going on for the next couple weeks related to the holidays. And we do have a brewery now, which is very important. So if you haven't been to Mount Airy for a while, come and check it out.
What's the name of the brewery?
It's Liquidity Ale Works. It's a mouthful, but it's beer. That's all for me. Thank you.
Cool. District 3, Commissioner Gordon.
Thank you. Had the opportunity yesterday, myself and Commissioner Rothstein, to attend the Good Scout Breakfast in Pleasant Valley. It's a wonderful event held every year. It's a great opportunity where we get to see various individuals recognized for their involvement in our community, which is one of the big things that is the backbone of Carroll County. Yesterday, the recipients were Ethan and Debbie Seidel, two very well-known, wonderful people in the District 3 Westminster area that have been involved here for quite some time. It's always a good opportunity to see, the recipients, see who turns up. A lot of organizations countywide in attendance. Also yesterday afternoon, Commissioner Kyler and I were at the Board of Ed swearing in, so got to see some new faces there and some returning, and look forward to working well with our board and their board in the future moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Kyler, District 2.
Yes, I want to thank everybody for working with us as we transition and orient ourselves to a new job. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting, and I hope my learning curve isn't too long. And this time of the year, without being sworn in as a commissioner, is a busy time of the year. There's so many events going on all over the place, and it's going to be interesting to pick and choose to try to make as many things. It's hard to say no, but sometimes you have to. So again, I want to thank everybody, and I really appreciate the voters of Carroll County. Like Commissioner Rothstein said, I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be a good group to work with, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm going to do my best not to have you follow District 1, but that's okay. We'll see. So District 1,
Pages.
Mr. Vigliotti.
I may have a few notes. Good morning, everybody. First of all, congratulations to my fellow commissioners. I'm looking forward to working with all of you for the next 4 years. To everybody who works here, thank you for your kindness and your patience with us so far. So to begin, the other day a number of us attended the swearing in of the sheriff and the clerk of the court. Some of us were also present the other day last night actually, at the Chamber of Commerce's mixer. Over the course of the last week, I had the experience of joining New Windsor Mayor Neil Roop for his Mayor on the Square coat and food drive. And Tawnytown, Union Bridge, and the county held their Christmas tree lightings, and so those were always quite interesting and fun to attend. It is a beautiful time of year, and we focus on love and the worth of the human individual blessed by God at this time of year. And so there are a number of churches and goodwill organizations and groups throughout the county that are offering help if people need them. And if you do need the help, please do not hesitate to reach out for the help. Because any one of us who offers help today may need help tomorrow and vice versa. That's it for me. Thank you.
I appreciate it. In fact, I think in the news, Shepherd staff, there was an article a couple days ago about Shepherd staff with some significant needs that are in the community. One thing I just want to share, and then we're going to get started, is there was a news release yesterday. Governor Hogan announced that 376 businesses across Maryland to revitalize the downtowns across Maryland received funds. I don't have, unfortunately, I didn't break down the list. I think there's either 8 or 9 businesses, small businesses in Carroll County that receive funds out of that 376. So that's great. We'll break down that list and we'll get that out because I want to make sure we congratulate them for stepping forward. Appreciate all the work. Let me see, 80% of the awards overall were minority-owned businesses with more than 2,500 jobs that were created across that 376, revitalization program. So just wanted to announce that there were 44 breweries. Oh, I like that. Okay. Let's get started. I'm going to have to check out the one in Mount Airy. With FY 2022 Fall Amendment to the 2019 Water and Sewer Master Plan, Ms. Eisenberg and Mr. Wagner. The price is right. Come on up.
Good morning, Commissioners, and welcome. We're happy to have you here, some new faces. So today we are here before you for the fall amendment to the Water and Sewer Master Plan. We do amendments twice a year, and they're by the request of who needs the amendment, the municipalities typically, or if we need an amendment for the county. As you all may be aware, we have 8 municipalities that all have, except for Sykesville, their own water and sewer service, and we process these plan amendments on their behalf. That's part of our COMAR regulations, which is the Code of Maryland. So with that, I'm going to have Price Wagner, who is a senior staff member in the Department of Planning and all things water and sewer, give you a brief presentation. And the reason we're here today is because even though some of this plan has to do with some of the municipalities, we, the county, have to adopt the amendments, and that is your role, and this is adopting the amendments. These amendments do not become finalized, though, until they are approved by Maryland Department of the Environment, who is the approving body on this, and that process typically takes about 3 or so months to get through their process, and we work with them along the way, so they're familiar with the amendment prior to it coming to them, so we don't have a lot of surprises, but there still takes a little bit of time on their end to get these approved. Once it's approved through them, then it is finalized, and whatever implementation strategies need to happen after that can happen once it's been approved by MDE. So with that, I'm going to have Price go over the presentation with you today and what we're requesting.
Good morning, Commissioners. Congratulations on winning the election and Commissioner Rothstein being reelected. So what I want to do is, since some of this may be new when it comes to what the actual water and sewer master plan is, I will give a brief of why we have to do the water and sewer master plan. So this is based on Title IX of the Health Environmental Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, requires that Carroll County review and adopt a water and sewer master plan every 3 years. The Maryland Department of the Environment Regulation 2603.
Hey, Price, can you speak up,
I sure can try.
please?
Yes, sir. The Maryland Department of Environment establishes procedures for implementing the law, and the Water and Sewer Master Plan is developed in accordance with these regulations. The plan is adopted by resolution by the Carroll County.
You need to, this is directional, so please, it's just not amplifying your voice.
Sorry. So the plan is adopted by the county commission and does not become effective, as Linda said, until MDE gives their final approval. Since Carroll County does not have a central authority that provides water and sewer, all 8 municipalities and the Bureau of Utilities oversees the Freedom and the Hampstead sewer service area. The Water and Sewer Master Plan encompasses all of Carroll County, including the county's 8 municipalities. So the main objective of the plan is to make sure that there is enough water for the municipalities to be able to grow, as well as enough sewer for those municipalities to be able to grow, and the treatment of that, depending on if there's going to be going into the discharge areas, or in some cases, like Manchester, town of Manchester, they have spray irrigation for their effluent. So those are the different aspects of how it's done. The state mandates that the Carroll County oversee and create the Water and Sewer Master Plan for all 8 municipalities and the areas that we oversee, which is the Freedom area. We have a couple of small plants, Pleasant Valley, as well as the Bark Hill area. So again, we look at doing this every 3 years, and then in the meantime, during that 3-year process, which at this point in time, we are working on the 2022 Water and Sewer Master Plan, but we have amendments that have come up, and this is where we are today. So why amend this plan? Again, it goes back to things may occur that were not a part of the original process. A development may have come in and they are needing to connect to the sewer sooner, and sometimes in emergency cases, which you'll see in one of the slides, a parcel may be on septic, but unfortunately their septic is failing and they need to tie into sewer if they in that ability.
Hey, Price, just 1 second. Just for all of us, the slide deck is in our book, so if we do want to take notes on the slides, and yeah, just wanted to make sure you all knew that, so, okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. So starting off, we have the map amendments. We have the Freedom Sykesville area. We have the Hampstead Water Sewer Service Area and the Manchester Water Service Area. And we have one chapter amendment, which is the City of Westminster Water. So starting with the map amendments in the Freedom area, there's the first one, there's 4 parcels right across Liberty Exchange on Maryland 26 that encompasses approximately, I think it's 12 acres. The estimated demand is 8,400 gallons for those 4 parcels combined. Currently, they're looking to come into the water and sewer service area. The second area is at the corner of Clees Mill Road and Maryland 26. This may be familiar. There was a restaurant there that burned down about 4 years ago, I believe. That's one of the parcels. These 4 parcels are looking to come in to, what has happened is over the years, their septic has been failing. They've actually purchased another parcel, which is actually considered parcel 485, which they are hoping to be able to expand their septic to there. The perks that have come about have not given them what they're looking for, so they're requesting to come into the service area for sewer. Finally, 5591 Linton Road. This is one where I was talking about the emergency aspect. This person purchased a house and their septic was failing enough that they had to have it pumped out twice a month. So they requested to come in, talked with the health department, and they had actually already connected. The health department was okay with them connecting in the emergency aspect as long as we came back after the fact for an amendment to bring them into the service area. So looking at this map right here, these 4 parcels are the ones across from Liberty Exchange. And they, again, looking to bring in roughly 8,400 gallons. That is the estimated demand based on the calculations the state requires, which is 700 gallons per usable acre. So roughly with 12 acres that are usable, times 700 gallons per usable acre gives them 8,400 gallons for all 4 parcels combined. We will utilize a portion of the unutilized demand that is from the Zabel property when those, the density of those properties was reduced. So this ability to utilize that demand will not increase the demand estimates at all for the sewer system in the Freedom area. Those numbers are already incorporated. We are utilizing the underutilized portion of that property.
So the Zabel property, just so you're aware, is in the Freedom area.
Oh, could you for the microphone? Sorry.
Sorry about that. The Zabel property is a property in the Freedom area that in the master planning process had a higher land use capacity than it's ending up being developed. So we are then have this ability to look at the overall future demand of the area. I mean, there are some other properties too that came out of the system or don't need to utilize as much sewer as originally thought. So we were able to take some of that additional capacity and reallocate it to this property.
These 4 properties, again, the ones I've mentioned again, right off Clees Mill Road. The triangle at the very end is where the restaurant, I believe that's where the restaurant burned down. This property, the long extension, is the one they purchased to hopefully extend and have more area for septic. The perks that were done on this property do not allow for additional septic to go there. So this property will utilize, again, the unutilized demand for the Zabel property. And this one is 5,400 gallons. This is not based on an estimate, however, based on actual usage that's on the property today. And with what is on the property, which is one restaurant, they're hoping to bring another restaurant in. Working with the owners and the engineer, 5,400 gallons is what they would max out to be. with what could potentially go there, with either being a restaurants and the small businesses that are there. So they're asking for 5,400 gallons on this particular property itself, or these 4 properties together. This is the additional property on Linton Road, where it was the emergency connection for sewer. They also, there's also since they already had the property open and the lines were in place, they requested to go ahead and tie into for water. Water allocation is based on 250 gallons per unit. And this property, 250 gallons is minimal for what they're looking to do, as well as we have come to find the 250 typically is on a higher end. However, that does incorporate certain things as if there's drought situations or areas that may use less water or more water, it helps in the end hopefully balance out the total demand that is being requested.
And that 250 is the residential number. So this is a residential property, not a commercial property like the previous properties.
And
It's-
just-
Real quick, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. No, please.
I was going to say, Price, just
Slow down.
logistically, not slow down. You get closer to the mic. It is directional, but I needed to make sure that we're capturing, not just the essence of what you're saying, but the details, because, we're getting pretty specific here. So please do that. But, yeah, Commissioner.
Thank you. So the properties that we're looking at here, is there going to be any kind of projected appreciable change to them about what exists there? I mean, you're talking about like restaurants or it's going to say the same what's there. It's just that we would potentially be providing water to them or sewer.
So the last piece of property that you just saw, that is a residential piece, had failing septic system. They needed to come on in an emergency situation. Nothing else is envisioned. I mean, that's just
Okay.
for that personal property. The prior 2 properties, if you want to scroll up. One more. This is not developed yet.
Okay.
So this would be bringing new development onto that site. It's has houses on it currently, but they have since sold to commercial development. And that property is currently zoned commercial to commercial medium. So that is a vacant or raw land now that will be redeveloped into a commercial entity. And then the other piece has some development on it, which is commercial. There's additional capacity if they are able to get into the water and sewer service area for additional commercial development. But again, the issue here is they have failing septic systems with no additional reserve area to replace that septic. The properties to the east, if you can just go there. Yep, here.
Yeah.
Yep, where Price's cursor is, that is vacant. But they have a planned commercial center that is approved for that site. They'll be moving through the development process. And the thought is when they develop on their water and sewer service, that then these 4 additional parcels to the northwest then will connect through that site into the main line of the sewer system.
Thank you very much.
So you're talking the Amonte Pizza, Stafford Farm. That's what these boxes are. I think it's Tevis property, isn't it?
Yes,
Right. Okay.
yes.
So this is actually the overall large map for the sewer service area for Freedom. And just so, as you look at it, the red outline towards the bottom southwest corner, that is the town of Sykesville. So as you can see, we do have a lot that are currently in the service area. There are some that are considered long range, which is 10 plus years out. The majority of this is existing or priority, which is 0 years to 6 years, which means if you're in the priority service, you are able to connect. We have the capacity already there and ready for you to connect within those years. The lighter green, which is not that many properties, is considered future. That is 7 to 10 years out. So even though we have the demand calculated and ready, the infrastructure may not be quite ready for these properties to connect. And a lot of the times, our connections, whether it's in the Freedom area or if it's in the municipalities, is developer driven, and the developers, typically, they're the ones who extend the lines and connect to the system. So we have the two properties, two commercial properties on here. I did not circle the one for the residential, because it's kind of blends in with the long range right off Linton Road. So these are the two areas right now for the Freedom area that we're looking to, that are requesting to come into the sewer service area. I will move on now to table 15 and the chapter for the city of Westminster. This is, the city came forward and requested an update for the water and sewer chapter. They are in the process of doing a wastewater reclamation project, where they are taking wastewater, reclaiming it, and then utilizing that for drinkable water. In order for them to do that, they were looking to get permits through MDE. They needed to update their chapter, showing the process, what they have done in the past and what they are currently doing to reclaim that water. So they have rewritten their whole chapter. There's some more in-depth information in the presentation that I sent out Tuesday. But for what they're looking to do, and when I'll show you table 15 in a minute, that'll break down how they're looking to increase their demand by 500 gallons in priority and 500,000 gallons in priority and 500,000 gallons in the future for the water table. This is the town of Manchester. They requested that a couple properties be removed, and this is more of a cleanup aspect. Looking at, when they looked at the map over, they realized they had properties that were showing being connected that actually are not connected, and properties that were not connected that are connected. The ones that are showing connected but actually are not are outside the town limits. And most municipalities, with the exception of Westminster and then Hampstead, because since Hampstead, the town owns the water system and the county owns the sewer system, they do provide water and or sewer outside town corporate limits, but Manchester does not. So here's the map. This backwards P right here is outside the corporate limits, and currently is shown to be within the water service area. That is not accurate. So we're looking to update that aspect and make it so it's shown long range, that should they need to tie in one day, they can. To sort of get your bearings, this big area across the street, that is Manchester Valley High, to get a better idea of where these are located. This property right here is also looking to be taken out of the water service area. They are on all the properties that are coming out, all the wells are doing well. Nice pun. All the wells are very active and are not having any issues. So with these properties being outside the corporate limits, the town requested for them to be removed. However, this property in the middle is currently utilizing water by the town, and they are connected. So they were previously shown as long range. The town did verify, yes, they need to be brought into and shown on the map as on existing. So these are just map updates for the town of Manchester to pretty much verify and coordinate what is actually on the ground, what is actually happening. The town of Hampstead, there's two properties looking to come in. They're asking to request to come in. One is the old, at one point in time was the Dart Building, then it was Solo Cup, now it's the Penguin Random House. They are currently on sewer, however, they utilize wells for that large warehouse. They are in the process of trying to annex into the town of Hampstead. And with that being said, that they are also requesting to hook up to the water system for the town. What we currently did, since this property is zoned, it was 52 acres, but it's zoned industrial, and MDE requires or mandates the multiplier for industrial land is 800 gallons per day per usable acre. So with this property being roughly 52 acres, that would be 41,600 gallons per day that this property could potentially have a demand for. We looked at the past probably 4 or 5 or more quarters of sewer usage and came up with an average of 500 gallons per day. That's what it came out to be. So at this point in time, what we did is, and the town was okay with this, is we brought it in at 500 gallons per day. However, we did put a note in table 32, which is the sewer demands table. I'm sorry, this is the water. The table 15, which is the water demands table, that should a different use come in that may utilize more, as Commissioner Guerin said, if a brewery comes in, that's going to use a lot more. Anything that may come in that utilizes more water than the 500, then staff, as well as the staff with the town of Hampstead, will look at their water system to see if they're able to provide the water needed for that new use. So that is a safeguard that we put in there to make sure we don't, hopefully it doesn't go over what they're comfortable using and what they're able to provide. Lastly is 1734 Hanover Pike. This is known as, I believe it's Lizzie's Lockers. They're currently looking to put in a small office. They already have one, but does not have I don't believe it's connected to sewer. They're looking to connect that to the sewer system to actually utilize and have a true bathroom for the management of that office. The property is already in future, so this demand will just go from the future portion to priority, which is very minimal. So the table did not adjust much because depending on how many decimal points you have. So that's why the table, we don't show the table because the adjustment was minimal. And it's going to be a lot less than 250 gallons per day. And of course, even though this is commercial, it would be even less than the 700 gallons per day because it's just one unit and one toilet. So here is the Random House property, and then here is the Lizzie's Lockers. And this is the table 15 that working with the city of Westminster. And the note 11 on the bottom is where we show that the 500 gallons per day are included in, as part of phase 1, is included in priority, and the 500,000 gallons a day as phase 2 is included in the future planning portion. So that is the update to that actual table for them. And then their actual chapter is totally rewritten, and that has already been sent to MDE for them for review. All of these amendments, these drafts have been sent to MDE for their initial review and comments in a draft phase, as Linda said. So when they look at it in the beginning, they don't get it cold. They know what is going on, what's coming down, and what they're looking for. So as you can see, we have completed all of the maps. The town of Manchester certified, that is one of the requirements that is there, is the towns need to certify that the amendment that is being requested is consistent with their comprehensive plan. So the town of Manchester certified on October the 18th. The city of Westminster certified on October the 20th. The town of Hampstead certified on October the 26th. And as this is a overall county plan, I presented to the our planning commission. They certified the freedom portion, but they also certify that the overall amendment is consistent with the plans that have come down the pike. So what we're here before you today, besides a briefing, which I'm sure is a lot to get on the first day, is a request for a public hearing for January 12th, since obviously we have the holidays coming up and there's a lot. So January 12th is the earliest, I believe, we feel that a public hearing would be best.
Okay, so a lot of information. I lived through some of this already, but what questions, for either Price or Linda?
All my questions were previously answered. I guess I have a point of order maybe. If in making a motion, do we have to include the specified or the requested date in the motion for the public hearing?
No.
Yep, okay. Thank you.
Anything? All comprehended? Okay. Is there a motion?
Your briefing papers have recommended motions.
So-
if that's what
I'll make a motion to proceed with a public hearing for the 2022 Fall Amendment to the 2019 Water and Sewer Master Plan.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion, I got a second. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
All right, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
good job, Price.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, let's move on to, let's see if we can purchase a few vehicles. Purchase of 4 ambulances. Who we got? We got all 3, so. Please, prior to you talking, also introduce yourselves and your role for all of us as well, so.
Okay. I'm Maureen Dunn. I'm the procurement officer, Office of Procurement.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Reed Oliver. My position title is Bureau Chief of Fleet Management and Warehouse Operations.
Michael Robinson, Director-in-Chief of the Department of Fire and EMS.
Okay, and Maureen has a very loud voice, so we have to listen very intently. So if you can, Maureen, speak up, and I know the mic's there, but thank you.
Good morning again.
Morning.
We are here to ask your concurrence, the Office of Procurement and the Bureau of Fleet Management Warehouse Operations, to request your approval to award the purchase of 4 Horton Model 623F ambulances from Fesco Emergency Sales in the total amount of $1,270,468. This purchase is being made through HGAC contract, which was competitively bid. This money has been approved in the FY23 budget, so no more additional funds should be necessary. And if you have any questions about the ambulances or why they are needed, I will turn it over to Reed and Michael.
Okay,
Commissioners, as Ms. Dunn had stated, we are seeking the board's approval today to purchase 4 ambulances for the Department of Fire and EMS. A few notable aspects of this purchase, or the vehicles specifically, they will be Ford F550 cabin chassis equipped with 4-wheel drive. The ambulance portion, or the box, will be manufactured by Horton. And as I've been stating to the board for the past year and a half, there are some lengthy delays with actually receiving these vehicles. These ambulances are not unique in that. With the board's approval today and ordering them, we would not expect to receive these ambulances for about a year and a half, maybe even 2 years.
it's amazing. So, purchasing 4 is giving us a savings of 104,000, or what's that savings?
Correct. They had the manufacturer of the box, which is Horton, and the chassis goes to their factory, which is in Columbus, Ohio. They had about a 6 or 7% increase as of December the 1st. So this allows us to avoid that increase, and we were able to basically provide a letter of intent, which is non-binding, which allowed us to do that by December the 1st. So the cost savings will be significant. Obviously, there's supply chain issues everywhere, but certainly in the emergency services vehicle area. And going forward in concert with our transition of the volunteer companies, this is going to provide us the beginning of a fleet where we'll be replacing the volunteer company ambulances with county ambulances. And essentially what that will do is allow consistency with all the units in the county, and it's advantageous for maintenance and all the other dynamics that come with that.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a few brief questions, if I might. So with the amount of money that'll be saved through purchasing the 4 units, I'm imagining that money will be crucial when the price goes up for these vehicles in the future. To roll that over, to have that on hand with respect to the price increases in the future?
We will have to budget accurately to include that additional price in years out when we are budgeting for ambulances. I believe the budget department could probably provide a little more detail or information
Okay.
as far as where the funds will come from.
And so the second question, maybe this is too simple and maybe for my own edification, is there any benefit to proceeding with the purchase of more than 4 ambulances at this time? Or is 4 sufficient for the time being?
Well, we have a progressive program that will be going on, and we currently have 22 ambulances in the fleet, which means the volunteer ambulances. We're going to be reducing that to 19 after doing an analysis of what our needs will be. That will include reserve ambulances as well. So we'll have reserves available when those go out for maintenance. In the FY24 budget, it's proposed that we will be receiving 2 more. But I mean, as far as the cost effectiveness, that would have to be deferred to the budget people to answer that.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Oh, great question. I ask it often. Is multi-years and purchasing more than 1 or 2.
2 were only anticipated in this budget year, just for your information. And we've been able to purchase the 4 because of the time which it's been necessary to hire the people. So we are already purchasing more than we had anticipated.
And staying within our budget.
And staying.
Awesome.
And that's the key is.
And that would have been my third question. So that's
And honestly, when I look at this often, it's that one line. The amount is within the adopted FY23 budget, and no additional funds should be necessary. That's critical, saying that we're executing the budget that we established the year before. So,
thank you very much.
Questions?
Yeah, so given the lag time for delivery, it sounds like you've got sort of an attrition schedule where you probably have a variety of different ambulances you would bring out flying, or do you even know ahead of time where these 2 might go?
Well, what we're doing right now, we're doing an analysis. We're getting ready to staff. So by June the 1st, we'll be staffing Westminster, Sykesville, and Tawnytown. And then we'll be doing Manchester, Reese, and Mount Airy after July the 1st. So we're looking right now at all of those companies and looking at their mileage and the age, but at the same time, we have 3 reserve ambulances currently. One of them we just purchased, but we have 2 additional reserve ambulances. So probably one of the reserves will have to be replaced with one of these 3. And our indicators right now say that Westminster will probably get one, and then when we get an analysis of all the mileage, we're going to make a decision based on that.
All right, thank you, Chief.
Any other questions? What's a typical life cycle of these ambulances?
Well, it's variable in Carroll because we have both urban and suburban rural areas, but typically between 5 and 7 years.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, is there a motion?
I make a motion that we award the purchase of 4 Horton model number 623F ambulances from Fesco Emergency Sales in the total amount of $1,270,468.
I'll second. Is there any discussion? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boki. You did a good job. Just saying. Okay, now let's have a very informative presentation regarding ag preservation program.
Thank you very much.
And again, y'all know Mr. Hine, Director of Land Resource Management, but JP and Jackie, please introduce yourselves and allow us to sit back and be taught.
Yes. Yeah, please go ahead and introduce yourselves.
My name is JP Smith Jr. I'm the program manager for Carroll County Ag Preservation Program.
And my name is Jackie Bradhune. I'm the preservation specialist for the Ag Preservation Program.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners, and welcome, as has been indicated before by others. So we are often before you for the Ag Preservation Program for various approvals that as part of the overall process. And because we're before you periodically, we thought it would be a good opportunity to start off by walking you through the process, the application process, and how the Ag Preservation Program works. So I'm going to take you through the kind of the beginning steps as far as why we have the program and the benefits of it, and then I'll be turning it over to JP to walk you through the overall process. So really just to start with the basics, what is the Agricultural Land Preservation Program and what is ag preservation? So a conservation easement is essentially what we establish on private property. And that easement is it's an agreement between a landowner and a land preservation organization. And that kind of organization could be the county, it could be the state, it could be a private trust, and so on. So it's an agreement between an organization and a private property owner. And that easement is basically a permanent recorded deed restriction that preserves the character of the property. So whether the property is all agricultural or if it has some environmental features and so on, is preserving that character of that property in perpetuity in the land records. So is that clear for everybody? Please interrupt if you have any questions as we go through this. So why do we have this program? And other than that it was established as back in the early 80s and so on as a program, there are some qualitative reasons that we have this program. So agriculture and farming, the farming community is kind of core to what Carroll County is. It's an important part of our heritage. It's a reason why people move here for the scenic vistas. It's why we have a tourism industry and so on. So qualitatively, there are very important reasons for maintaining the agricultural land production, right? But there are some economic reasons why we do this. The first is there was a study done in 2020 by a professor from the University of Pennsylvania that analyzed the Ag Preservation Program here in Carroll County. And we can certainly get you a copy of that study. The boiling it down to one fact out of that study is that every dollar that the county puts into preserving land results in between $1.80 and $2 worth of economic activity within our community. So there's an immediate benefit from the investment that the county makes into the Ag Preservation Program. The other economic benefit is that we are moderating that urban sprawl, and we're reducing the future costs of services. So I was not able to find any study for Carroll County specifically, but a University of Illinois study indicated that the tax benefit, when you look at how much the taxes that are obtained from agricultural land versus residential land, and the costs of services that they then consume. So services being roads, fire, EMS, police, schools, all those services that we as the county government provide, that if you collect $1 in taxes from an agricultural property, that property consumes between 30 and 50 cents worth of services. When you compare that to a residential property, you collect $1 of taxes from a residential property, they consume between $1.15 and $1.50 in services. So while it's arguable that converting from agricultural land to residential increases the amount of taxes collected, the cost to the county exceeds the amount of money that we are collecting in the increased taxes.
Chris, that's really good information. I mean, that says a lot, especially the second one regarding the taxes. Can you expand on the first, the economic stimulus? What local, that $1.80 in local economy, what is that? Local, I mean, what is that $1.80?
Sure. So when we give $1 to a property owner to purchase that easement on their property, they then turn around and use that money for improving their farm. So whether it's buying equipment, it's increased production, it's all those activities, those farming activities that they then use that money plus their own money, and the stimulus to the economy almost doubles related to the dollar that's invested by the county.
Because this is important, especially for me, with District 5. There's no ag preservation. And in the designated growth area down in Eldersburg and Sykesville, and there's concern from the community about why are we funding, in their essence, ag preservation across the county when we don't see the benefits in District 5. You know, we should have programs where that tax money goes right back into us, almost like fees as opposed to taxes. And it's difficult because they don't see it directly. They saying, hey, all we're doing is subsidizing ag preservation across the county. Well, this is telling us that's not what we're just doing. You know, it's a subsidized program, but the benefits outweigh the subsidizing of tax revenue. That's great. I was not able to share that as clearly as what you have here. So no, that's good stuff. It's a strong argument on why we should not just for the top qualitative reasons, but why we should for the economic and other reasons maintain or continue our targets in ag preservation.
Yes. So I guess a specific example, and JP can step in because he has more knowledge of the day-to-day workings. But an example would be, I know of at least one feed store that's located in Sykesville, right? So that's in your district.
Yep.
When this money goes to farms to help them grow their farms, those property owners then have a need for additional feed and so on. So then they are going to Sykesville and purchasing that additional materials that they need to grow their farm. And there's that multiplicative, I think that's the right term. Multiplicative, there we go, thank you. Factor that stimulus grows then by double what our investment was.
Right. Okay. No, that's great. That's a strong message to understand why we're doing what we're doing for our county and our community at large. Because you get the woe is me attitude. You know, there's always one area that says they're less fortunate than another area, and then you go to that other and they're less fortunate than somebody else. So, and I'm sure we all hear and see that, and if not, we'll hear and see it that much more. But I appreciate it. Thanks.
Sure. And sort of in line with that is that the Ag Preservation Program is really one of comes out of one of the tenets of our master plan, which is that we want to concentrate growth in those designated growth areas, and where we can then provide those services, again, services cost, and we can provide them more economically and efficiently in those designated growth areas. So it's, again, a decrease in long-term future costs to the county by supporting the program. So hopefully that gives you all a good background of the what and whys of why we do the Ag Pres program. So then we'll step through the process for how a property owner who is interested in entering the program, and again, this is a voluntary program, so people come to us to apply for it. And the first step of the program is basically the property owner would come to our Ag Pres office, and as JP and Jackie introduced themselves, we have one other person, Don Black, who's our office technician. So that's the extent of our office that manages the program. So the property owner would approach them and say, hey, I'm interested, please tell me more. And with that, I'll turn it over to JP to walk you through the rest of the process.
Sure. Good morning again, Commissioners.
Morning.
The first thing after a property owner or a property buyer happens after they approach us is that we determine eligibility of the property. And there's four different areas that we do that with: development potential, soil classification, the size of the farm, and the location of the farm. Once we determine those four things, we're going to determine which the best program option for that applicant. And we have four options for each applicant: the Maryland Ag Land Preservation Foundation, Carroll County Easement Purchase Program, the Rural Legacy Program, and our Carroll County Critical Farms Program. The Maryland Ag Land Preservation Foundation is a state-sponsored program. There's a 40-60 split between the county and state funding of that program. The easement value with the state is based on actual appraisals of the farms. The state will actually do 2 appraisals, and then their Board of Trustees and Department of General Services will approve one of those appraisals as a number for the foundation of the offer. The process with the state is usually 1.5 to 2 years after the application is submitted in July. For the Carroll County Easement Purchase Program, this is a Carroll County funded program, and we use a points-based appraisal to value the programs. The points are based on attributes of each individual farm, and we have an agricultural focus on these farms, which focuses on the soil types, the percent that's farmed, and the other uses around each farm. And normally we can finish our process in less than 1 year. Next program is a Rural Legacy Program. This is state grant funds from the Department of Natural Resources and is limited geographically to the rural legacy areas. You can see that on the map. We have the Little Pipe Creek Rural Legacy area around Tawnytown, Union Bridge, New Windsor, and west of Westminster, and the Upper Patapsco Rural Legacy area near Manchester and Hampstead. The Rural Legacy Program also uses a points-based appraisal. They are more environmentally focused. There are no soil qualifications for Rural Legacy. So a lot of times we are protecting steep slopes and also wetland areas with that program. And it also takes less than 1 year to settle those easements. Our last program, and one that we're most proud of, is our Carroll County Critical Farms Program. This is a program where we assist purchasers of farms. We help them buy the new farm, and in exchange, they're required to preserve the farm through the Maryland Ag Land Preservation Foundation. This process with the county, when we were first helping them purchase the program, we set a time period within 120 days to help the purchase, and then it goes to MALF, where again it will take 1.5 to 2 years to finish out the settlement of the easement.
Before we move on, do you have any questions about the 4 programs that we manage?
I've got a question. Obviously, I'm looking at the map, and I noticed, the southwestern part of the county, there's not a lot of overlay for the programs. I mean, you mentioned it's volunteer, but is there another reason maybe that's the case where there's just not a lot of
I think for the most part, because you're close to Route 70 and other, big highways and big areas where people are working in Rockville and different places like that, I think the land values for lots, for housing opportunities are just more lucrative, and people decide to do that rather than the ag preservation. In the county, we're also based on average fair market values, so sometimes people just feel like it's worth more to them to do the development rather than ag preservation.
Thanks.
Sure.
Not really a question, but just want to mention this. I know, and I have a fair knowledge on this as JP, and JP knows personally. The public hears, ag pres, and they understand the process on some basis. But I've run into this a few times, and just wondered if you all could maybe just explain to us and everyone watching online when we say it's permanently extinguished development rights in Carroll County, it is permanently extinguished, and I do know that. I'm just asking you all to follow up on that, because I'll hear sometimes, oh, well, the third owner from now is going to have that opportunity to buy it back and, pay out, an interest rate, and we all know that's not accurate, but just wanted to have you all echo that for those
Sure.
that might be watching.
Sure. All the easements are in perpetuity. There is no opportunity to buy something back out of ag preservation. There are some reserved lot rights at the time of application, which would be for the original owners or the original grantor of the easement. And that could be a family lot or an owner's lot. Sometimes people reserve unrestricted lots, but they're very, very limited. So if someone were to see, and we do get those calls, I thought this farm was preserved and somebody is building on that property, that is something a lot of times only available to the original easement holder or someone that reserved something in the past. But for the, most part, it cannot be bought out of ag preservation.
Appreciate that.
No problem. No
I
problem.
thought there was only one critical farm in District 5. I see two. What's in the bottom right corner?
I think that's a land trust easement. So that is, could be a Maryland Environmental Trust or Carroll County Land Trust easement. So most of those are donated easements. There's a few that were federally funded.
Interesting. Okay.
So those, even sometimes with Maryland Environmental Trust, it's a choice that someone makes for themselves.
Okay.
Presently, we have 77,556 acres preserved, and we have several hundred acres in process to be preserved as well. So that number is increasing, and with your continued support and the citizens of Carroll County and the state, hopefully we can keep improving on that number.
How many eligible acreage is there roughly available?
I would say with farms that have development potential, and I would say that would include residential and commercial development potential, we probably have well over 50,000 acres available. And with new criteria and working with remainder parcels that mostly have commercial development, we have much more than that. And I don't really know a number.
Okay. No, but that's fair.
I think we have plenty of land to reach our goal and beyond.
Okay.
And the goal is 100,000 acres, if I'm correct?
Yes, sir.
And there's nothing that would stop us from going beyond that 100,000.
No, sir.
That's awesome.
Actually, 100,000 is a minimum.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, you want to do it by June 23, right?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Better step up the funding.
Budget discussions there.
Okay, so once we identify the best program for the applicant, they're going to submit their application to us. Once they submit the application, we take the application to the Ag Land Preservation Advisory Board. That's a 5-member board that supports Chapter 159 of the County Code of Ag Preservation. Those 5 members are appointed by yourselves, the Board of County Commissioners. Their primary purpose is to review and approve applications to each easement acquisition program and to review requests related to farmland already under easement. And that would be the landowner or the child's lots and different things like the locations and things like that, which we try to keep by roads or other houses. So after it's approved by the advisory board, an application would be brought to yourselves in closed session to be approved by the Board of County Commissioners. And at that time, we would be requesting preliminary approval from yourselves. And what does the board do in closed session? For a Critical Farms program, you guys would be providing preliminary approval of acceptance of a farm into the Critical Farms program. For our county purchase program, you would be providing preliminary approval of acceptance of the farm into the program. And with MALF, you would be approving submission of the application to the state for the MALF program. So once you've preliminarily approved an application for the program, we would determine the easement value, and we would submit an offer letter to the applicant, and we would begin title work and legal documents once that offer is accepted. Lastly, we would come back to you in open session for final approval of the purchase of the easement. Where are we at? Okay, sorry.
That's all right. What they do in open
They all
section.
look so much alike. So what is the board expected to do in open session? For Critical Farms, you're going to approve the final cost for the easement purchase. In the Carroll County program, again, you're going to approve the final cost of the easement purchase. With Rural Legacy, you're going to approve the final amount of the utilization of the grant funds from the Department of Natural Resources. And for MALF, it is not brought back to the county commissioners because it is for final approval by the state and their board of trustees. And we already have a fixed budget established that we use in that 40-60 split. And we would only come back to you if we needed more funds. And we would do that in open session as well. Any questions on those final approvals? So after final approval by the board, we would finish processing the legal documents and schedule settlement for the applicant to settle the easement.
So that, in a nutshell, is the overall process. It's relatively simple. There are just a lot of individual steps, and there, on most of the programs, there are 2 touch points for you all: a closed session preliminary approval, and then an open session final approval. And again, just to clarify for MELF, we have the guardrails of what our budget and what the state's budget is for that program. And so we basically come to you in preliminary and closed session for approval of a slate of applicants to send those down to the state. And then the state figures out the value, figures out the offers, and so on. It's really a state program that we participate in. And both the state and the county, we function within the budget that you all have established. If the state comes back to us and says, hey, we can only partially fund this one remaining farm, but we, the state, are willing to kick in some additional money, then we would come back to you all to see if the county is willing to match that, provide our match. So there's not a need for us to come back for a final approval because really it's a state program and we're just providing the matching funds if you all approve the submission of those farms to the program. So that's all we have for the presentation. You'll notice in your slide deck there are a couple of additional slides that have accomplishments and so on. The intent wasn't really to get into how great the program is, but it's there for your reference, but we would be happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
How do you evaluate around the towns and the cities of Carroll County? I know the lower corner doesn't have much of this and probably never will, but it almost looks like there's some places where you're almost landlocking some of the small jurisdictions, maybe limiting future growth. Is that a goal of the thing, or is that something you try to avoid?
Well, it's certainly not a goal, and we only take in applicants that volunteer their farms. And the way that we evaluate those, all the towns have growth areas established and priority funding areas established, and that is their area that they are predicting future growth. So we stay out of those areas altogether.
But what if somebody in the designated growth area wants to have their land preserved in perpetuity?
Originally, we would tell them that we cannot preserve their land.
Okay.
They would have to work that out with the town that they live in, and they would have to go through the process of getting that taken out of the growth area.
So
that's between them and the town.
Okay, or the Freedom District, which is the largest growth area, is not the town, it's the county. However, there's the process right now or approach that they are not eligible because they're within designated growth area. There's no law that says they're not allowed to do it. It's a process. It's us.
That's
And
right.
if we say yes, they can become eligible to, look at my property in perpetuity, then we can do that. We've done it prior. We have not done it, and I'll tell you, there's folks in Eldersburg that are like, hey, why can't my property be? Because it's in the designated growth area. Well, let's consider taking that off the table and making them eligible for having property, preserved. And there's some farms out there. They're gorgeous,
Do they have a pathway? Like, for instance, you just said, let's say neighbors Manchester, they'd have to go back to Manchester and get taken out of the growth area. Is there anybody you can go to
us.
in your growth area?
It would
just
be
us.
yourselves.
It's
It would be
us.
yourselves.
It is absolutely, it's us. And all we have to do is say, yep, let's make this eligible in the Freedom District growth area. It's Eldersburg, it's the county.
For the county's purposes, not the towns. It's
Right.
the county's policy not to allow it in the
Right.
growth areas. So you could definitely change that.
And it's going to be, my recommendation that we take a hard look in doing that, because why not become eligible, in doing that, so.
I mean, to some extent, there is an awareness this is possible, right? Or do those interested in it typically do not know in that area?
Oh, they know. They
know?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and there's frustration. There's frustration on those that are in the designated growth area, in, Freedom District, some that are frustrated because nothing's available in that area and they're funding what they consider subsidizing agriculture across the county, and what's in it for us. Well, Chris, you shared that, which is a really good message to share. It just has to be a little louder to get out there. And then the second is that the largest designated growth area in Carroll County is county property. It's Eldersburg. And it's up to us to take away that policy. And the towns can do what they want. Those 8 towns, they can say, yep, that's our policy, and they can change it all they want. That's not our jurisdiction. But our jurisdiction, my recommendation is do away with that policy, open up the aperture, and allow folks to, would you agree?
I think if there's future land use designations for agriculture, then it's a conflict if you don't allow the program in that area. I know for a fact that there are farmers in that area that have wanted to use the program in the past, or I guess the other conflicts down there are the zoning. If it's zoned agriculture, I guess White Rock Road is a good example where it was only allowed to have 7 lots and the rest of the farm is not developed, and it's not going to be developed until there are other changes made. So the last board was willing to accept applications and for review, and depending on what you guys decide, we can bring applications if we get them in that area.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
I think it bears a discussion with the planning department, because obviously there's a balance here. There's a balance between growth in the county and with preservation and agriculture. And the Freedom District is designated as the designated growth area for a reason. And so I think it's a great discussion to have, but I'd like to pull planning definitely into the discussion.
Yep. And I think that's fair, and I think they just came in. But
Not for that purpose, though.
not for this topic, but that's okay.
Can I mention one more?
But you were just dropped, so.
Just a few questions.
Sure.
Is there a minimum acreage required?
There is. For a farm to stand alone on its own, for the state program, it has to be a minimum of 50 acres. For the county program, it has to be a minimum of 60 acres. Now, for the county program, you can go as low as 30 acres if you're adjacent to another preserved farm. And we also have the option of an add-on. So if there's a 10-acre property next to someone's 100-acre farm and they want to consolidate that in and there's something to retire, we will consider that as well. The state will go very small as long as you're adjacent to another preserved property, as long as there's a minimum of one lot right to retire.
Good. So there's a lot of flexibility there.
There is. And I wanted to mention, to answer your question about, another reason why there might not be as many farms in the south or southwest part of the county. In the northwest part of the county is a priority preservation area, and all of the properties that apply are ranked. And if you're in the priority preservation area and you're in a rural legacy area, which is also a large chunk of the northwest and western part of the county, you're going to rank higher. And when they go to the state, the highest ranked farms will be preserved first. Now, normally we have enough money to preserve all the farms, but those people are always at the top of the list, aside from our critical farms. So that's another reason. The people that aren't in the rural legacy areas and aren't in the priority preservation area are going to rank much lower.
And just one follow-up question. I shouldn't have answered this. And by the way, I think early on in the election process, you sent out a package to, I think, all the candidates, which was really helpful, so I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
So somebody put their land in one of these programs. Is there a tax advantage down the road for any of these individuals?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right.
Some counties do have reduced taxes, property taxes for preserved farms.
We don't.
Carroll County does not.
No. Not a question, but more of a comment. Two things. I think number one, to your point, I think we do need, if we're going to have discussions about looking in, designated growth areas, it obviously has to be balanced. That's what we have to do with this entire county. But I think the other thing is, and you hear it once in a while, and I think it's kind of incorrectly mentioned about subsidizing. Yes, there are funds that are, given, not really given, but, worked out through the deal to the property owners, but they're also investing in our county because they're allowing that land to stay as farmland, green land, open land, whereas, they could easily not do that and they could then turn around and, sell that property and have it developed for other purposes. Not saying either one is better or worse than the other, just that they are investing in green open space, which, in some places in this country, it's very difficult to find at this time, so.
That's true. It's amazing the amount of calls we get from real estate people that are selling a half-acre lot with a rancher, because they call and they say, I'm trying to sell this house on, Baldwin Valley Road. I just want to check and see if the farm behind it is preserved. Because if it is, I think I can get this deal to go through. Yeah. Because they don't want to move in and then have a big development built in behind them. So it is definitely a plus.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with what was just said. And misconception, misunderstanding. Again, Chris, you shared it well, and JP with the presentation on the value of doing this, economic value of doing this. And Linda, just for your awareness, I brought up taking a look at the Freedom Designated Growth Area as a potential, making it available for ag preservation and opening up the aperture. Not talking about the towns, that's their own concerns, but making the Freedom District available for ag preservation. So, and I think, like Chris shared, it warrants a further discussion amongst all those that are, a part of it. But I would like to direct you guys to take a look at the value in doing this, and also it sends, I think, a message that and we need to be balanced, but it's there for a reason, the Freedom District, but there's also other potential value in preserving and sending a message that way. We are Carroll County as a county and not this portion or this portion. So, okay. Any other questions or comments or statements want to be made? Again, this was for information only. Really appreciate it. I think you all going to take a back seat now for a few minutes as we go through open admin.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
your time.
Thank you.
So, Wanda, why don't you come on up as we start our open admin? First off, Chris, anybody on the phone?
No one on the line, sir.
Okay, so there's no public comment unless, Linda, you want to make a public comment? I don't think you are. So now, before we go into agendas, it's an opportunity for open admin just for, you know, I want to say edification. Just what we've been doing is if there are topics of interest that we want to discuss further and get onto schedule or agendas at a later date, or topics for staff to be aware of that we, you know, collectively are looking at. And it is open to us, you know, whatever's on our mind. So.
I have one thing.
Yep, please.
So we received an email about a week ago from the state's attorney's office asking to come into open session to ask for bonuses for their staff. And since this is not in the normal course of business, I didn't know if the board wanted to do that. And we have to check with the state's attorney. Other things I don't know if they're still interested, but if they're still interested in that, is this something the board would like to entertain or hear in an open session? Not that you're going to agree or disagree.
I think it has to do with bonuses and positions. It was two.
The email dealt specifically with bonuses, but we have to check with them.
Yeah. And they've reached out talking about positions and bonuses, two separate, so it may be two separate topics, but it's.
Interested in hearing from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, yeah, I think we're interested, and back to the second phase,
Yeah.
which wasn't in the email. In theory, if positions are already within their budget, we don't need to do anything probably,
Correct.
in theory.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so doing that if,
I will reach out to them.
Thank you.
do we have session on the 22nd?
Yes. Yes, so
And then we don't have session the following week.
Correct.
Got it, okay.
The
Or the
Yeah.
week
next
after.
two
So that'll
weeks.
be, yeah, so that'll be the last session of this year. Got it.
this
So,
calendar year. Right.
is that okay to wait a week and a half this way, get our budget guys
Sure.
lined up? Okay,
I
cool.
would be okay with that, with the exception of if we're looking to have all parties on the 22nd, there might be a conflict on that date for me. So.
Okay.
Okay. Well, then it might be the 12th then.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And maybe they won't need it.
What's that?
Maybe they won't need it.
What else,
Open questions.
anything else for open admin? I thought everything went well. We're going to go into close in a few minutes, but before, let's go through agendas. So the back of your briefing books are your agendas. And I rifle through these. December 12th? Monday, December 12th. Do you have them? You all should have them. Okay. Monday, December 12th, we have nothing scheduled. Blue indicates that we're outside activity serving our county. Tuesday, December 13th, there's a planning board meeting. It'll be in the county office, and who's attending that? Do we know?
Commissioner Gordon.
You are?
I am.
Commissioner Gordon will be attending at 9. It's down in 003, the Reagan Room. 7 p.m., I will be participating in the Ag Board meeting over at the Ag Center. Wednesday, December 14th, there's a Mount Airy Senior Center holiday lunch at 12 p.m. I don't know if anybody's available to attend or wants to attend.
If you don't know at the moment, just let your assistant know, and they'll make sure that Wanda knows, and so she'll put it on the agenda.
And then on Wednesday, December 14th at 5 p.m., there's a Carroll County Public Schools Board meeting. If
We have
somebody,
yet to determine who will.
yeah, it's TBD if somebody will be attending. On Thursday, December 15th, we go into open session. we'll have a briefing from our IT, Mr. Ripper, on Cisco SmartNet support renewal. Then Steel Pavilion at Piney Run Park from Mr. Degetz, or Rec and Parks. We'll talk about purchasing some F-250 and F-350 vehicles from DPW. Purchase of Kohler generators for the community college, again from DPW. Then we're going to talk about an option to purchase the John Parker Smith property through the Critical Farms program. Now that we're fully educated on that. At 11:30, there's a senior inclusion program lunch at Westminster Senior Center. If somebody's available to attend that, put me down as tentative to attend that.
Put me down as tentative as well.
And then 5 p.m. 5 p.m. I'm not attending the President's reception for Fort Meade. I will be attending the welcome reception for elected officials at Exploration Commons. I believe all of us will be attending that.
Yep.
Okay. On Friday, December 16th, is North Carroll Senior Center holiday lunch. If somebody's available to attend, let your scheduler know. On Saturday, December 17th, there's Wreaths Across America. It looks like all of us will be attending. I know where I'm going. I was told if you know where you're going, please let your scheduler know so they're just aware. If you don't know, they can also help find where you're going to be going. Commissioner Kyler has the podcast.
Yeah. And I don't know if they're the only one that does that. Emmanuel Lutheran Church is actually doing a rehearsal for Wreaths of America this
Yeah, you
Saturday. I
told
don't
me
know
that.
whether any of the rest are or not.
I've never done a rehearsal, so that's interesting.
When the church ladies tell me to be there, I just
you listen, don't, yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
But I'm going up someplace in Hampstead, actually, laying a wreath, army wreath, and then from there. Okay. Following week, on the 19th, we have nothing scheduled. On Monday, Veterans Advisory Meeting. I will not be attending, but Commissioner Kyler and Gordon will be attending on the 20th. Wednesday, December 21st, there's a holiday luncheon. It'll be at the Shipley Arena over at the Ag Center. I will be attending. If others will be attending, just let, again, your schedulers know.
For Carroll County government employees.
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, this is employee luncheon for Carroll County government. Tonytown Senior Center has a holiday lunch. If somebody will be attending or participating, again, let them know. The Carroll Community College Board of Trustees meeting, I will not be going. Who's going to that?
That was Commissioner, I forget,
was that.
Who signed
Kyler.
up?
Kyler.
Commissioner Kyler will be attending that. And then ESAC that evening at 7 p.m.
It's Commissioner
Commissioner
Guerin, I
Guerin will be attending that. Enjoy. Following week, we have nothing scheduled.
There will
on
be items.
The 22nd, okay. 23rd, 23rd, I apologize. We will have a half a day scheduled.
We've not announced that, but you may certainly do
But
so.
I just announced it.
I think you just did.
So we will have half a day. And
offices will
Saturday is Christmas Eve, and Sunday is a very Merry Christmas to all those celebrating. December 18th, I did not mention, is the beginning of Hanukkah, so Chag Sameach to those celebrating. Commissioner Gordon has the Yuletide podcast on December 25th. Did I miss anything at this point? Okay, did I miss anything, Ms. Wanda? Okay, what I need now is a motion to
Close
Lisa,
for land acquisition.
what's that?
To close for land acquisition.
A motion to close for land acquisition.
So moved.
Okay, I got a motion to close. I need a second.
Second?
I got a second. And then, do I need a
All
motion?
in favor, do this one first.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. A motion to adjourn after closed?
Oh, so moved.
Okay. A
Second.
Second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.